I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Pankania onto the programme again. Now, he's an expert in public health, but he doesn't work for the government. He's at home and joins us via Skype for safety reasons, of course. Thank you so much for coming on the programme. We've had lots of questions from viewers. But can I begin by asking you if you have any idea how widespread this disease is now here in the west of England? We know London is the epicentre, but what about here?
We will never know a true picture of what's going on in the community because we are not testing. And that's unfortunate because I would like tests for especially key workers, healthcare workers.
Are you there, Michael? Barrett, rather? Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, you can. Splendid. Sorry, we just lost the end of that, but let me just go to a question from Michael Turner, if I may. He says, I've received notification from the NHS that I am at high risk. Can I go out for exercise or not? I am well at the moment.
My best advice to him is yes, and the way to look at it is this. You avoid all human contact. So you stay away from every human being and you stay away from places where humans congregate. So if you wish to go out for a walk in the woods, long walk, etc., be my guest and please enjoy it. Spring has arrived, so you should do that. And there is no restriction whatsoever on wanting to do that sort of thing.
Perhaps you could just explain to me why this 2 metres is so important and how was the figure of 2 metres arrived at?
We assume that that is the sort of spread of the droplets for when an infectious person coughs or sneezes. So that's the sort of range of scattering the virus that you may pick up. But remember, the 2 meters is a guideline. My best advice is stay away from human beings because human beings are reservoirs of this virus, and at least keep your 2 meters, but better advice, stay away from human beings.
Gosh, Brian Matthews writes, he says, can we pick up the virus from supermarket trolleys? Of course, we've all got to go shopping.
Yes, I've heard these questions so many times and I have changed my direction. And my new advice is as follows. Consider everything infected and infectious. And the way that you may get infected is by handling anything or everything. And if you behave in that way, you will stop thinking about, is this safe or isn't this safe? Consider everything unsafe. And that way you will take better care of washing your hands and taking care of not getting infected.
OK, I think your answer is going to be the same then to Lisa, who works in a shop. And she says people are handling products, as we all do, don't we? And then we decide we don't want it and put it back. Any suggestions for Lisa?
Again, it's the same thing. Lisa, please consider everything and everyone contaminated. And therefore, you take measures not to get infected yourself with looking after yourself.
So that means, I guess, washing hands all the time. Let's just see if we can get you back. Sorry, this link isn't quite what it was. Are you there, Doctor? Can you hear me?
I'm still here, yes.
Ah, splendid. So again, that was the advice, to just assume that everything's infected and keep washing your hands. Let's plough on with the line as best we can. Bear with us. Because Carol Wandsworth has a question. She says, are dental appointments counted as medical and a valid reason for travel?
Indeed, if you have got an urgent dental need, you will have an appointment to go to the dentist, and therefore it is perfectly valid to go and see the dentist.
Right. OK, so if you're in pain, perhaps otherwise you must contact the surgery, I'd guess. Now, this one I've got my doubts about, but let me just put it to an expert. It sounds a bit dodgy to me. Ian says, should I heat mail and newspapers in the oven as the virus is heat intolerant? I think that's true. It is heat intolerant, but that worries me a bit about putting newspapers in the oven. What do you think?
You will create a fire. And if you just take my very simple advice, consider everything infected, infectious, contaminated, and therefore look after your hands from which you may pick up the infection and infect yourself. That's a much easier way to proceed rather than to think about microwaves and this and that.
Yeah, I think that's very sensible advice. Now, we had a student come on and said that he's alone in his student house. Everyone else has gone home. He wants to go home, but his parents live some distance away. Can he travel by train? Would that be a responsible thing to do or not?
Of course he can, because think about it, people are commuting. You just make sure that when you're on the train, you keep your distance from other passengers and go into a quieter carriage, go off peak, go at a time when the train may be more empty. And of course, make sure that on your journey, you keep on washing hands and things and just keep away from humans. That's the best advice I can give to you.
Okay, well, that student then looks as if he's going home to his parents, which is nice. Now, a lot of people are very concerned about the pressure on the health service. When do you think that pressure will arrive here in the West Country?
I expect a lot of cases within the next 3 to 4 weeks. What happens in London follows in a wave across the country. So we need to brace ourselves. And because we need to brace ourselves, I would also say to our listeners and viewers, now is the time to take absolute extreme caution and measures not to get infected. So if you can avoid human beings in the next 3 to 4 weeks, please do so.
It's hard to avoid human beings, isn't it? I mean, just living, really, unless you shut yourself away.
Well, exactly. So you create an inner circle of what you would call clean, meaning this home is free of infection, and you keep it that way. So I'm not avoiding fellow humans in my house, but I'm definitely avoiding other humans that I don't know their status about.
Right. Now, I know you're not working for the government, you're not a government spokesman, but do you think their advice goes far enough? A lot of people are still working, of course. If we give it just a couple of seconds, he comes back to us. Are you there?
Yes.
You
I
are?
am here.
Okay. Yes. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Well,
So I
what would you say?
It's good to be independent. And whilst the government has to be measured, I can have a little bit more flexibility. And my view is, look, you try not to get infected. You take your own judgments. And if you feel uncomfortable, stay at home, don't go to work.
Is your impression that local, local intensive care units will be able to cope with the demand which is coming their way?
No, we will be full, and it's better to be truthful and honest. So we will be full. It is inevitable, and therefore we will have to make additional arrangements to provide extra ITU and critical care beds. That is without any doubt. And now is the time that the NHS will be preparing in any case. But the fewer the number of people who get ill and infected, the better the chances that our health service will be able to cope with whatever bed capacity it has.
I have had a few questions from older viewers, and this is, gosh, I can't believe I'm saying it really, but they are asking if they're likely to be treated if they go into hospital, if there are younger people in the queue.
This is a very important question, and I have been commenting on this very issue this afternoon with the British Medical Association. I told them we need to be careful about how you choose people for treatment, not for treatment. And it should not be based on age alone. It should be based on multiple parameters, their illness, their other conditions, how ill they are, what else is making them ill, and make it a group decision rather than a singular decision. So this is very important, and it should be made by a group of people rather than an individual.
Right, yes, it would be a huge responsibility, wouldn't it? Now, we've been speaking to you about this from the very beginning. Is it panning out worse than you thought?
I didn't expect a surge in cases as much as we are, and that is, I expected a flattening of the curve, but I do not see that at the moment. And whilst we have gone into what we would call a shutdown mode, I hope that that will go somewhere towards reducing the surge that is expected.
Right. Well, that's the end of our questions. Can I thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for bearing with us through the Skype link here. I know it was in and out, and most importantly, would you take care of yourself, please, as well?
Thank you. Thank you very much for asking me.